Our next guest has had a long-standing vendetta against Mondays.
Tell me why I don't like Mondays. Tell me why.
He's a music legend, political activist, and the brains behind some of the biggest charity concerts the world has ever seen. Please welcome to the show, Bob Geldof.
Hey!
Sir Bob Geldof, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, welcome to Melbourne.
Thanks very much.
Have you partied since you've been here? Have you been enjoying it?
Went to the Cup.
Yep.
Went to see a show.
Oh, yep.
Got taken out to dinner. All good.
Yep.
And I'm out of here as soon as I've done with you guys. It's enough.
So it's been busy because I have seen you everywhere, Sir Bob. You are a busy man.
I know, and you're last.
And be honest,
Is
what
this
did you say when you walked
suggesting
in? You went, I could have done without you guys.
Hey, what about the luck of the Irish at the Melbourne Cup?
Tell me about it.
Did you
I
put a
am
bet
that
on?
person.
Did you bet on that Irish jockey?
No, I bet on Knight's Choice
Yeah.
Yes.
because
He's been knighted. It
Oh,
is
that's
Sir-
why you
Sir
not
Bob.
because of the Irish jockey.
I
No,
did. There were 10 Irish horses, so I just picked one.
Oh my
and
gosh.
that didn't run. But the guy who won is a great singer. I think he won The Voice.
Yes,
He went on
yes,
The Voice.
yes,
Yeah, he
yes.
just sung with Ronan Keating yesterday.
Yeah, and
on stage.
Ronan's going to race in the last race for today.
Oh, they've done a job swap.
Yeah.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Go on.
When you're knighted,
Knighted.
is that the sword job?
Sword job.
on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
ears?
yeah.
Who did you, Lizzie?
Queen.
Us, yeah.
The
Yeah,
Queen.
I watched King Ralph the other day when they clipped the ear.
Yeah.
Great movie. Was there any
They're the
fear
sort of
of
movies you watch on
Yeah.
to inform your listeners.
Well, I thought it was a doco. I thought it was in preparation for you. Were you worried about the ear clip back in the day, or was she quite good with the sword?
She, what, in terms of slipping?
Knighting.
Yeah, it's heavy,
Yeah.
and it sort of falls weightily on your shoulder, so you
Right.
truly understand you're receiving something of gravitas.
Yes.
That's
Does-
Latin for
Does
weight.
Sir
Thank
Bob,
you. Saves a Google.
does Sir go everywhere? Does it go on the boarding pass, for instance?
It's
'Cause
on
I'd be
the-
screaming
it's-
it from
where
the
it's
bloody
really
rooftops.
useful
Yeah.
is on the driving license.
Oh,
You get
yeah.
pulled,
yes.
and it goes, Jude, and I can show it to you here. And also when the restaurant's full,
Oh,
Yes. Well,
when you bought the cheapest economy ticket,
do they bump you up the front to get
and you're
free
desperate for
upgrades?
it sometimes works, to be honest. There you go.
Oh, there's his wallet. Could you give me a
Look at
credit
that.
card while you're there, Sir Bob?
Yes. Yes, there it is. Sir
You
Robert.
pulled out your license from
Yeah,
that wallet.
just to prove that it works.
Jesus.
Gee, that wallet looks like it's travelled the world with you a few times over.
Well, that's-
Bob,
yeah.
your photo on your license looks more like a parole shot.
Must
That's
say.
Don't ask about that one.
What do you reckon? It's not bad?
Oh my gosh, Sir Robert Frederick Geldof.
Yeah,
That
they
is-
left out the xenon. That's my. Can you imagine being in school and they call out your full name?
What is it?
My third name is Xenon.
Xenon?
Yes, my father
Xenon.
thought it'd be hilarious to name me after an inert gas.
Sir Robert
apparently.
Frederick Zenon Geldof.
Yeah,
What a title.
Huge.
I know. And my grandson is called Zeno. My father was my grandfather.
Wow.
And this is one of the great Geldof traditions down through the centuries, and I'm passing it on to you now.
There you go.
We're,
I don't think we're smart enough to have that name in any of our children's
Absolutely
names.
not. We're only talking about you in our house the other day. I got 3 young boys under 10, and
Yeah.
we're watching the Bohemian Rhapsody movie.
Oh, yeah.
And the Live Aid concert bit came on, and I was just giving the boys, a rundown of what it was all about.
Yeah.
Mate, congratulations. You've done some extraordinary things in your life. What are you most proud of?
So serious question, proper answer. The pride thing it doesn't happen in me at all. To say, oh, you're proud of your kids. It doesn't work like that. If they do something cool, like, I'm happy and I'm happy for them. But stuff a great record, getting to number 1, stuff like that, it's just on to the next thing. That's what happens. There's a momentary pause where you go, good, did that worked. That's what
Celebrate it.
happens.
Now move on.
Yeah, now move
right.
on. Next thing. So, and it's a lacking because I think it's an inadequacy. I think it would be good to stand back and say, get perspective on your life and things you did. But, it's just something you do moving on. So, that's, I was a bit dismayed when somebody said, come down and tell us all your stories because you've done all this stuff, you've done all that. And you don't think it's like that. It's just you're on this continuum. It's a life, and then it begins and it ends. And next year's full on. Next year's the 40th anniversary. Well, in 2 weeks is the 40th anniversary of the Band Aid record. Do They Know It's Christmas? And then USA for Africa. And then
Love that song.
And then the 40th anniversary of Live Aid and the 50th anniversary of the Boomtown Rats. So, I've been around.
That's a big year.
It is a big year. And exactly to that point, some Aussies called me and said, you're going to need a break from all this stuff. Come down here and do a one-man show thing. I said, no, really, no. And then I saw Springsteen's one-man show, and then I saw Bono's one. And they're both Irish, and they've got the words, and they can tell the stories, and I'm in sort of that camp. And I thought, actually, you know what, winter, spring anyway, March, April, come down to Oz and
Let's go.
Spend a couple of weeks here and go back and then have a fresh mind, So stories,
You got
fun,
stories we
music,
wanna hear, mate.
questions, films, movies that you haven't seen,
Amazing.
So 1985.
Yep.
Such an important historical marker. Is the world dramatically a better place?
Not since the day before yesterday when...
Are you terrified?
I'm so sad and alarmed.
We're talking about the Trump presidency, obviously.
For the world. And I think it'll be all about them. I think the rest of us, like Britain, is basically protecting their eastern flank and Oz protects their western flank. And that's the only use Trump would have for us guys. But
people
beyond
thinking...
that, the man is a fool and a dangerous fool. And he's been surrounded by, billionaires who believe the world should work to their benefit according to them. So I think it's a very, very, very dangerous moment. He is surrounded by fanatics. He's incapable of leadership. He's just a moving fool,
Were you expecting it?
Well, okay, I was saying yes. I was saying it's Trump because all the energy was running his way. What I wasn't expecting was them to win the House and the Senate, and indeed so look, for all of us who think a certain way, who've got a view of the world. Certainly in my life, I'm old now. That the sort of old post-war consensus of social democracy, that we redistribute wealth and we bring as many boats up as we can along with us, and that prevents revolution and fascism and stuff like that. That's gone out the window with this election.
So, Bob, we as a global community, do we care enough, or have we become far too selfish?
No, so your original question is, since 85 have things improved?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Globalization, which got a bad press and which in fact the rejection of it, Trump is an avatar of. Globalization is a function of the technology that we're all using now and have in our pockets. And within the first 10 years of our century, 400 million people were pulled out of extreme poverty. That's extraordinary. And it would have continued. So starvation figures, hunger figures have plummeted since that period. And they're still going down. Whether that remains so or not, we don't know. But there are 600 million hungry people in the world still. Half of them in Africa, far too much. There's a surplus of food in the world. It's unnecessary. Poverty itself is unnecessary. It really is. If people are rich enough to trade with us, produce stuff, they buy our stuff, we buy theirs. It's pretty simple, but it's not something necessarily that a mercantilist like Trump understands. It's always the deal. He's never done a good deal in the man's life. He's a bankrupt fraud.
Have you ever met him?
Yeah, I met him he was sort of when he was a developer in the 80s,
right.
A good
that went well for him.
Was he orange then, or is
no,
this a
I
new
just
thing?
said he was a good-looking guy, actually.
Right,
But he'd go to wherever the do was, usually in his flat. And I went once, and no idea who the hell I was, or whatever. He just said, just welcome, and you shook hands, and you were at the party. But it was all the faces of that time, and he was making sure they all came to him. I don't think he had political ambitions. I think they arrived with popularity with The Apprentice, So, yeah.
You've done some amazing things in your time, and I know you'll obviously tell a lot of those stories quite humbly on your tour.
No, not humbly.
Not humbly?
Full on
Okay,
bombast.
great.
Bombast is me, I don't do pride and I don't do humility.
But who are some, you did so much of it through music and through the music industry. Yeah. Who are some of those musicians and bands and entertainers now who you look at and think, wow, wow, they are doing great things for the world, because I think
I
there's
don't think you need to. I mean, I'm sure you guys, because you do this show and your personality face, you get asked to do stuff, and I don't think that's part of the job of being a musician. The only job of the artist is to create good art. They fail when they create bad art. That's it. The rest is up to the person. What view did they take on things? My view was that when the Rats had the #1 records and the stadiums and all that stuff, my take on that was that fame is a currency, and like any currency, it depends on how wisely you spend it. And at the very beginning, the first ever interview I did, I was moaning about pop. And if you talked of the Queen movie, if you really want to understand why punk came about, it's because of one word: Queen. It was to do with like the length of their limousine, the height of their hair, the platform, the big house. And we rejected that. And so I was moaning about that. And the journalist said, well, what do you want to get out of this? And I said 3 things. I want to get rich, I want to get famous, and I want to get laid. Yeah. And, if you come
How'd they go?
Yeah, it's done it all, mate.
Ticking the
And it's a lot better than previously, So, the rich and laid part is self-evident, but the fame thing I actually said, because I've checked it, is I want to use the platform it gives me to talk about the things that bother me.
Yeah.
And I have. So that's me. Mm-hmm. And I really don't put that on others. So, for example, when we were putting together Live Aid, some of the bands have broken up, like The Who. Pete Townsend, Roger didn't like each other. So I had to beg Pete to phone Roger and make up to come back. Some came back naturally. The Beach Boys, Black Sabbath.
Are you responsible for Oasis getting back together?
No, but honestly, I literally was texting Noel on the car over here, because we have this text bro relationship sort of thing. And they're a great band, and they would not do something like this
unless they wanted to.
No, they don't. It's not their thing.
Yeah.
And Noel's a really clever guy. I mean, properly so. But no, it's not what they do. It's not what. That's not where he doesn't believe it achieves anything.
Right.
But even if he did believe it achieved anything, if you don't want to do it, that's completely fine. Queen, were very difficult because I told this story, but it's true. They'd come to the end of a world tour. They were in Oz. Harvey Goldsmith, the promoter in London, said, you got to get Queen. I said, why? It's kind of a bit done with Queen, isn't it? And why Harvey wanted them? Because he wanted to do their next tour. Roger, the drummer, is again, let's name drop stuff, a really good friend. I hang with him. And I called him.
Can we get in these WhatsApp groups? Can you just add us?
What?
Can you add us to these group chats?
No,
okay,
I don't like
okay,
you.
Bob. Okay.
I don't like you. There you go. He doesn't like you.
I called Rog in Australia, and they said, oh man, we know what's going on. It's amazing, but we're a bit tired. The tour had not gone great. And Freddie was about to go and make a solo album, which is kind of the death knell for a band. It's the side of Signal. And he said, but speak to Jim, the manager, Jim Beach. So I spoke to Jim. I didn't like speaking to managers because their default position is no. That's first.
Yes.
Then the lawyer says no. So I just spoke to the guys. And Jim said, oh, Bob, we're really tired. Fred's going to make thing. I said, I know. Roger told me. He said, well, let me put it to Fred. So 2 days later, the phone call, and I said, Bobsy, I said, oh, hi, Fred, and he said, well, what's all this about, darling? He said, it's wonderful what you're doing, but it's not really our thing, is it, And I said, well, I don't know. And I didn't care if they did it or not. I really didn't.
Right.
I didn't think we had every band that ever existed, probably. And I wasn't going to push him, put the moral arm lock on him. You've got to do it. If you
want him there if they want to be there.
Yeah, I did that with Pete Townsend. I did with a bunch of. So he said, I don't know, Bobsy. I'm thinking of making my own record. I said, yeah, Jim told me. And he said, and he was talking himself out of doing this. And then there was a silence, and I couldn't care less. And I said, the only thing that popped into my mind was, well, look, Fred, if ever there was a stage built for you, this is it. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, darling, the world. And there was this silence, and he said, yes, I think I know where you're coming from. And that was it. And next minute they pitch up and they do this genius.
It's incredible hearing you say that. It's like the phone call was yesterday.
Yeah. So this, that's it. As I say, it's part of a mad life. I'm not sure I understand it myself, but there you go.
They're the stories that people are going to be hanging for. An evening with Sir Bob Geldof. Songs and stories from an extraordinary life coming to Australia.
I've changed the name.
Oh, great.
Oh, we've changed the name.
We've got
I've
an
changed
update.
story. Forget Songs and Stories of an Extraordinary Life.
Thank
Ticket
God,
on
'cause that was
sales
very
today.
long. Yep.
It's what's at Life. WTF.
Love that.
Love
Great.
that.
Is that really what we're changing it to?
Yes, we
Did
are.
you just change it
Don't
just
you
then?
feel like that yourself?
Hey,
Done.
Life
Like, so
W.
Bob-
I couldn't agree more.
TEGdainty.com. Life WTF is the tour.
One man show.
Yeah.
Sir
I know.
Bob's related to somebody on our team.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Have you got headphones there? Chuck
Yeah.
the headphones
Yeah.
on for a sec.
Irish producer.
Now, you're all related, aren't you?
He might. Yeah. Is this your granddad?
Close. Turns out Sir Bob and I are from about 30 seconds from each other. I live in a place at home called Sallynoggin. Bob
that
is
place
from
like?
Glenageary.
Say Salty Noggin.
Hang on. One of the you wanted fame, money, and get laid.
To get
Good
laid.
neighbours.
There's a good chance you might know Jess's mum.
Well, I got none of those things.
See, this is called Australian humour, you know. This is why you're going home soon, I take it.
Now, he said, producer Jizz said he told you the town he's from. And what did you say about the town?
It is a shithole. You know,
That's
it's
why
at
he's
the
moved
top
here.
of the hill. I'm in the posh part.
Oh.
And I say,
Must be
the
nice.
people up in the Noggin, it's Sadie Noggin, the people up in the Noggin scared the crap out of me. We used to, long before he was born, as you've kindly pointed out to everyone, but we used to have a record shop. The hill is two times. You come down the big slopey bit, a flat bit, down another bit. Down at the end was this very cool record shop, which saved my life when I was a kid. But they had a basement which was painted black with the best jukebox in the world down there. So we hung there after school, and the girls came in from the convent and everybody hung. But there was a couple of guys from the Noggin there, Smiley Bulger. You're not related, your second name isn't Bulger, is it by any chance? Smiley.
No, it's not. But I've
Do you
heard
not-
about Smiley Bulger.
Smiley Bulger had this thin smile and an axe in his waistband.
Couldn't be
And,
trusted.
You know, we were sort of, as I say, nice, polite, middle-class children. And Smiley'd come in with some henchmen, and he'd just look around with these thin eyes and this thin smile. He'd just look at you like that, fucking ham, what's going? And he said, and he'd go, and he'd nod at me and go, "How's it going, Robert?" And I'd say, "Hey, very nice, Smiley." And I'd run up that hill, running up the hill.
Get back to the
running up
posh part quickly.
Every group's got one.
Yeah, but he followed me home one night, and that wasn't fun.
Oh. Wow.
Oh,
What
it was-
I need the end of that story.
No, it's
Well, he
all right.
didn't
There
get
was
him.
no end to it. He was all right. He was just another lost boy in the Ireland of the
Carrying
time
an
I
axe.
grew up.
Smiley joins us
with
on the
no-
line, actually.
Good morning, Smiley.
He's here too. You lucky country.
Hey, Sir Bob, thanks so much for joining us, mate. It's been an absolute treat.
Cheers, guys.
Jason Lauren.
Wake up feeling good.
On Nova 100.
Jason Lauren.
Follow them on socials.